Banaza's fate appears to be rather grim. He is despised as a hero and left trapped in a different world, abandoned to the outer corners of the kingdom by a carefree ruler who simply wants him dead. But what will happen if the rejected hero candidate realizes that he has abilities that surpass what was expected? Subscribe to the channel to follow the story as it plays out. The story opens in the royal capital, Paluma. Some merchants are offloading their goods, but they are doing this with the help of demi-humans. Interestingly, they are treating the demi-humans like trash and don't even pay them for the job that they are doing. On the other hand, there is a merchant who goes by the name Banaza, and he offers to pay the demi-humans working for him instead. His other comrades see him as weird and a hypocrite for offering to give demi-humans money. The demi-humans don't want to collect this money from him, but he insists that they do. His friend Quinn shows up, telling the demi-humans that Banaza doesn't change his mind once it is set on something, and he advises that they take the money from him. The demi-humans take the money, and they all rejoice, thanking him for the assistance. Once they are done with their tasks, the demi-humans leave. Banaza starts to wonder why the people and demi-humans cannot just coexist without any problem. Quinn says it would have been good, but the people of the capital feel differently. Suddenly, Banaza starts to glow, and before Quinn can turn back, Banaza has vanished and is nowhere to be found. Out of nowhere, Banaza opens his eyes to some people talking about the successful summoning. Apparently, this is the 198th time that they will be doing this. He gently lands on a circular platform, and the priests who are present at the scene welcome him to the magical kingdom of Clearroad. They call him a hero, but Banaza believes that they have mistaken him for someone else. The chief priest explains to him that he has been summoned to save them from the long-lasting war that has been happening against the Dark Army for years. Banaza is still confused by what is happening when a lady who has a goat face brings some sort of stone to him so that they can test his magical prowess. He is requested to touch the stone to measure his magical ability and strength. The powers he is going to receive are called the Divine Revelation, but everyone is left disappointed when the result shows that Banaza is just an ordinary person with no incredible or extraordinary ability. Banaza tries telling them that he is just a merchant, but the priests are busy talking about how they have failed once more. Once there is no going forward with him, Banaza asks them if there is a way that they can send him back to his former world. He has not finished this sentence when the priests start rejoicing on the other side of the room. It turns out that they have been able to summon another hero who appears to have all the incredible stats that they want. The guy also appears to be a boastful person, already talking about how he is there to save them. They immediately run to the king to report the situation to him, while Banaza is still there trying to get them to notice him and return him to where he came from. The king meets with the hero and wastes no time in telling everyone that he has been appointed as their savior. On the other hand, Banaza is just there thinking about the world that he currently is. He can clearly see that it is different from the world that he came from, but he hasn't heard of it before. Nonetheless, he just wants to be sent back to the world where he came from. Shortly afterward, he is thrown into a wagon which is driven out of the palace by a demi-human. Apparently, he was told by the king and the chief priest that the gate that brought him from his world had closed, and there was no way for him to return there. They accept that this is a failure on their path, and this is the reason they are going to allow him to take up residence in the Delaveza forest, which is in the north, and he is free to live out his life there. However, he was warned not to tell anyone about what happened. On his way to the said forest, he tries talking to the demi-human who is driving the carriage, but that one tells him that he has been instructed not to talk to Banaza. Banaza asks the guy if he is in a slave contract with the king, because that is how it works in the world where he is from, but the guy says no. He lets Banaza know that demi-humans are not slaves in this world, and he considers Banaza's world a terrible place for them to have been treating demi-humans that way. Banaza wants to continue talking, but the guy just closes the window, opening to shut Banaza in. The boring and exhausting journey continues for 20 days, till they finally reach the Delaveza forest in the north. The demi-human tells him that he just needs to head straight to get to the forest, and he hands him a bottomless bag, which is from the king. The contents of the bag are expected to last Banaza for quite a while. Before the demi-human leaves, he advises Banaza to leave the area, because it has been rumored that demons lurk around the forest. After the guy leaves, Banaza tries accessing the bag, and he realizes that it pretty much works, just like the ones in his world. The first thing he takes out of the bag is a sword which he intends to use for his protection. However, handling the sword lets him realize that it is just cheap junk and not worth relying on. He turns back to see 3 slimes appear in his location, but he doesn't seem scared because he knows that slimes are not dangerous in his world. Out of nowhere, the slimes came after him, and even though he backed them before, he was able to turn back and cut down the slimes all together in one slash. After he has taken down the slimes, he looks at the sword to find out that it is already broken, just from defeating a bunch of weak slimes. He gets a notification on the status screen telling him that his level has increased to level 2. He realizes that terminating monsters get levels up in this world, but there is a symbol that looks like an infinity symbol at the bottom of the screen, but doesn't know what this is. The system then asks him if he wants to activate voice command, to which he says yes, because he has been looking for someone to actually talk to. The voice assistant tells him that he has now activated magic spells since his level has increased. Among the number of spells that he has activated are location tracking, monster luring, and forced recovery spells. The assistant tells him that he needs to remove the spells from the bag, and he does just this. He is about to head into the forest when the voice assistant warns him that the forest is contaminated by a high concentration of milicium. Since he doesn't know what milicium is, the assistant decides to explain it to him. Milicium is the term used for liquid or gaseous substances that are emitted by demons. This is harmful to humans, and this is the reason he needs to avoid it. The assistant then tells him to purify the forest before thinking of heading inside, but warns him that it will consume a third of his magic. Banaza doesn't care about this, and he tells the assistant to get it done. The spell is activated, leaving a very bright and intense light that sweeps across the forest. Once this is done, the assistant tells him that his level has increased exponentially. Back in the capital, the first princess is seen talking to her father about the cold treatment that was given to Banaza. They were the ones who summoned him in the first place and should be responsible for him, but the king doesn't care about this. They are in the middle of this conversation when a priest enters to tell the king that large-scale purification magic has just been used in the Delaveza forest. The delusional king assumes that the hero is the one who did this, but the priest lets him know that the hero is headed to the south forest, while the spell was used in the northern part of the forest. By the time the system finishes telling Banaza about his level increase, he realizes that he is now at level 367. He wonders how he was able to get his level up so fast, even after he didn't terminate any monster. The only answer to this is that he can actually level up in this world by using magic. He then demands that the assistant show him the level of magic he has left, but his magical strength increases right before his eyes. He needs to go to town, but he has been banned, and the assistant suggests that he uses shapeshift magic instead. He decides to try this out, and he picks a female gender first. Realizing that this is not going to work, he changes it back to a male gender and picks another appearance. With this, he can go to town and back, with no one realizing that he is Banaza. The assistant then suggests that he use teleportation magic if he plans to go to town. He is surprised that he can use a spell like this, and wastes no time in telling the assistant to activate the spell. The spell then takes him to the royal capital, within the blink of an eye. He talks about how the spell could only be used by powerful sorcerers in the world he came from, but assumes that it is different here. Bro really doesn't know how strong he is just yet. He then tries to use the teleportation spell to go back to his former world, but this doesn't work. He is not surprised by this, because he was already expecting it not to work. Since he needs money, he thinks of locating a guild where he can register. He will not be able to register in a merchant's guild because he doesn't have connections or know anyone. The only option he now has is to register at an adventurer's guild. He doesn't know his way around town, but the assistant provides the services of Google Maps to him, and he is able to get to where he is supposed to. He enters the guild hall, and the receptionist tells him about the ranking system and how gets more rewards by how high his rank is. This is how things also work in his former world, so he has no issue registering. He is asked what name he wants to register with, and he almost lets out his real name. However, he is able to stop himself from saying his real name, and he tells the lady that his name is Fleo. Fliss is the name of a dog that he once had, and this is the reason he said the name. Once he is registered, he is awarded the E rank for starters. Let's call Banaza Fleo from now on, shall we? Once he has taken his badge, Fleo heads to the tasks board to find a task that is on his level. He is in the middle of this when he hears a girl asking for an escort who can follow her to the Delaveza forest. None of the adventurers is ready to help because the forest is now said to be a base for the Dark Army. Fleo realizes that no one is ready to help the girl, and he decides to help. He approaches the girl and tells her that he is down to help her. The girl lets him know that she doesn't have much money to pay him, but Fleo doesn't care. He says he has been to the forest before, and he can just take them there using his teleportation magic. Upon hearing this, the adventurers present in the hall all let out a huge gasp because of what he said. They believe that he is lying because teleportation magic is not something a mere person can use. This is when it dawns on him that teleportation magic is not a beginner's spell. Just then, Balarosa of the Royal Knights shows up and holds Fleo at sword point. She is accompanied by her comrades, and they believe that Fleo has evil intentions towards the little girl. He wants to prove to them that he can use the magic. but doesn't want to use it in a public place, and he demands that they come with him. They arrive at an alley where there is no one, and they demand that he show them. He is warned not to try anything funny, because they are going to strike him down. He activates the magic, and they are all taken to the forest, leaving Balirosa and her comrades in total shock. Balirosa kneels before him and apologizes for being rude to him, but Fleo doesn't even take offense in the first place. Just then, the girl speaks out, asking why the Militium in the forest is gone. Fleo is about to say he used purification magic when the voice assistant warns him not to reveal that he can use such magic in front of a demon. Just then, Balirosa and her comrades point their weapons at the girl. They accuse her of being a demon and demand that she show them her true form. Fleo doesn't understand what is happening. Balirosa explains to him that a young girl has been soliciting assistance in traveling to the Delaveza forest where the Dark Army is. This is how they were able to catch on to her. The girl appears innocent till she decides to transform and show her true form. She changes into a giant beast and introduces herself as Fenris. She is the younger sister of Fengarel of the Infernal Four. Balirosa and her comrades are crippled by the Militium emitted from the demon's body. Balirosa never expected the girl to be one of the powerful ranking demons. Fenris realizes that Fleo is not affected by her Militium, but doesn't really care. She plans to terminate all of them nonetheless. She comes after Balirosa, but Fleo manages to get her out of harm's way. He then uses his teleportation magic to get the knight and her comrades out of there. Fenris is surprised that Fleo stayed back and wonders if he is dying so hard to become her food. Fleo has no intentions of dying yet, and he plans to use all the spells available at his disposal in fighting the demon.